But there's an interesting distinction where you can say that you can point out. It's a new thought for me, but you can see that you have the survival instinct and you have instinct for creation, and they're very, very opposite. The survival instinct is about the past. It manipulates the now in order to recreate the past as future. That's the survival instinct. But the creative instinct is only interested in creating something new. And you know what made Mozart and Beethoven and whatever, and you stay up late at night, you know, not able to sleep, forgetting about eating, all that kind of things, you know, it's not survival instinct. That's the instinct for creation. And the instinct for creation is overruled usually by the instinct for survival. The moment we are challenged, the instinct for survival will overrule. Because which of these two instincts do we share with animals? The instinct for survival is much, much older, much more fundamental in us. But this instinct for creation, that's specific human. That's for human beings. That's where the human beings enter the arena. This instinct for creating, wanting to create something, wanting to find out. And you can say that the attitude of creation is that you're bending towards the future. It's a very different thing. When we talk about letting go, when we talk about all the things we talk about, is basically how do you actually hurl yourself into this other universe which is ruled by the instinct for creation in a situation where you are challenged. So when we talk about it's difficult, it's actually because when you stand there, and this is an important moment in your life, which of the two tracks will you choose? If you choose the instinct for survival, you are dead meat. You can survive, and they will make applause. The audience is patient, but it's not going to be alive. It's never going to be alive what's coming out. So I think that's what the challenging part is. That deep down in us we have this survival instinct, and the moment we are challenged, we will go with that usually.
Creation instinct. It shows up for me that in this very moment I am with what happens. So I'm not, let's say, with what will come out. So what I do not feel is this duality between the one that is related to the past, the other that is related to the future. Even if it's right, I can understand. But finally, the one that what you call the creation instinct is the one that enables me to stay in the here and now. And that means creation. Mm-hmm. Because if you call it to related to the future, there is a little danger that there's still a sort of duality between here and now. I understand what you tell. Yeah. I totally agree. Just I would name it a little bit different to avoid this possible duality between here and now and what comes out.
Yeah, but I think I can make it more precise because also you can say that the being, which is the here and now, there's no self-conscious. You're not self-conscious. You're just here and now as being. But as creation is very much the same. It's here and now. You're not self-conscious. As direction, it's a very different thing. So it's not when we talk about the being, the Buddha state of being. It's not active. It's the here and now. That's it. But what I'm talking about is something different. It's here and now, but it's not being. It's action. It's direction. You can say one is like being is a point. Creation is a vector. It's a direction. And you can say the moment that when we talk about being, you're just being. You're just with it. There's no direction. But the moment you're there, your direction. Directionality.
It's just the question, being with what? I cannot be in this state. Mm-hmm. So it's not up to me. So let's say I decide or I switch on now. Right. That something is touching me and it is making me vibrate.
Yeah.
And now the question is, how, with this impact, how I go on.
Yeah.
Do I finally rely on the knowledge? Okay, this I can manage in a certain way, so I will come to the end of the piece. And
That's duality, right?
That's duality. Or do I take the courage that this specific impact shows me how to go on?
Right.
So I be with it.
Yeah. As consequence.
As consequence.
That's what I mean by direction.
Sure.
Yeah. So it's not directed at. It's just direction. That's the thing. It's orientation. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And in music, if we speak about this necessity to, before the beginning, to be free and to be empty in a certain way, it is just only because of the need to be absolutely open and not conditioned in any way for this contact, for this influence.
Yeah, beautiful. But that's the relationship between being and creation.
Mm.
That when you stand there, when I sit with my bassoon, carnation, wind quintet, whatever it is, but in that moment, there's no direction. There's nothing. There's just being. And out of that suddenly something bursts. How that happens? How that happens is not interesting, but it just happens.
And if you can experience this together with others,
that's the highest.
I mean, it's a quintet, 5 people, with the orchestra, 80 people. And it's absolutely real, it is possible.
Yeah.
At a certain moment, we are really together, not in the sense we want to be together.
No.
But
it's a byproduct of something more important. Yeah. That's interesting. The togetherness is something that happens as a consequence of directing your awareness on the same unspoken goal. Absolutely. In a certain way, yeah.
As soon as it is an aim in itself, it brings us away.
Yeah, exactly. That's interesting, yeah. But that is a miracle with music. That, I mean, I have this love affair for life with this Bulgarian folk music, and there's some very sweet people that I see every year and play with them. It's my teacher. I know him for 45 years, 40 years, something, and with these people, they are simple people, and they are not really nice to each other. I think there's aggression, there's all kind of jealousy, and there's a lot of territorial fights going on, and it's very unpleasant very often. And then I take the accordion and bring it to one of the guys, and he starts to sing his sad songs from the Rhodope Mountains, and everybody just completely falls together, absolutely together. Everybody's just sitting with this common blues feeling that he's expressing. You just feel the most beautiful togetherness. That's the interesting thing, Have you seen the movie The Commitment? It's an Irish movie, and it's about some really, street gang kids who want to make an orchestra, a band, like a rock and roll band, and they really succeed, have a fantastic singer. It's a beautiful movie, actually. And as they become famous, you see that they start to fight more and more behind stage, and they become unified more and more on stage. And in the end, they're just fighting, and they're having their last concerts, and after they have been playing, they're just, fighting and beating and screaming, and then suddenly, hey, wait a minute, they want us to come, there's an encore, they want us to come in, and we should go in, and when they go in, you just feel, as they walk in on stage, you just see everybody suddenly unite. They start to smile, they shake each other's hand, so it's just one beautiful unit of smiling human beings, and afterwards there's the final breakdown of the band. It's just amazing, because suddenly you understand, wow, what is actually the cultural idea of music? Deep back, I see that with my Bulgarians. It's incredible, because when you look at an orchestra, it's a bunch of, including ourselves, egomaniacs. Of course it is, we're so self-centered, that's part of our upbringing. And it's possible to make symphony, which means it's possible to actually bring people together in music, even in spite of all that incredible diversity. If you look at it like that, it's actually pretty miraculous.
It is a miracle.
When you talk about it, I understand my quintet, it's 40 years, so it's pretty much there every time. But with an orchestra, you come from outside, and you just stand in front of the orchestra, have some rehearsals, and suddenly you reach that point. It's amazing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
As a conductor, for me it's the steadily challenge. How I am able to make show up in the detail, in the smallest relation,
Right.
what will be at the end of it. And not just work this and now work yeah, it's good now, next one. Because
No,
this will lead to a certain exhaustion, to be exhausted after a certain while.
Yeah.
So what for all this? Maybe it's good what he does, but what for finally? And this is a real, I would say, a real learning process. How it's able, you are able to how do you call it, focus, or to show a direction. What will be able
Yeah.
at the end if we look for this phrasing in this very moment. And not just to do this phrasing in a wonderful way. Okay, you see now it's good, yeah. But with this, something else opens.
That's true. It's beautiful what you say, because what you bring as a conductor is a trust in something much higher than what is usually expected in human relationships. Because when you're working at something here, it's all informed by the totality of what we are dealing with. So you can say that you're always coming from the solution in a certain way. You're always coming from the totality of the, let's say, of the symphony. You never forget that this is this symphony and this specific point. And you don't have to say that. That's the thing, that's the amazing thing. But just carrying these incredible high expectations to what's possible among human beings, it will in some way or another be, I think, be expressed, be manifest in even the details. Because if you just lose contact with the why, the overarching why, you can say, and the details, it's just a desert walk. It's just a bottom-up approach. It's like mending this, mending that, mending. Then you're hoping that the whole patchwork will come together. But the big why, existential why, is actually left out of the picture. So, as a musician, you will discover a possibility of relationship between human beings that's absolutely extraordinary. And you never forget that. You know, when you meet human beings, you will never forget that. You always bring that expectations to what's possible between human beings. And that will manifest in what you're listening to and what you're not listening to, and what you respond to and what you don't respond to, inevitably.
But this finally is not different at all to human contact out of music. We experience the same necessity to get more and more in living contact with the other. Otherwise, this sort of commune may not happen.
Yeah. I mean, what you actually are getting in touch with as a serious musician, like an incredible high potential for human relationships, you can say. That's part of what's happening. But the moment that you actually expect that same thing from yourself in all situations, being ennobled by the musical task. I mean, we would love to say that if you're really musical and dealing with the beautiful and the truth and all that, you will be a developed and evolved human being. But that's not the case. If we look at the scene of art, we can see that what this human being is expressing as an artist and what this human being is expressing out of stage, it's absolutely not the same. You know, we have a lot of examples of that. So you can see you can be very, very developed in music and be a very, very undeveloped human being. But when you begin to, I think, to have the same aspirations and hopes for human relationships in all of life as what you experience in music, and you demand the same from yourself, and you're listening in the same very all-encompassing way to what's happening and participate, you know, I think there's a possibility for, there can be a translation from the depth you acquire as a musician to who you actually are as a human being. That's a very crucial and interesting point.
And in this specific direction, the music is a real, not a therapy, but a way, a real way to go.
You're right.
It is something really evident, and this I experienced little by little.
Right.
With Celibidache, I heard it, and I believed in a certain way in it, but I could not experience myself
Right.
so far. And little by little, while doing myself the music, I see how there is a limit that you cannot overcome if you accept this duality.
Right.
So this brings you naturally to be together, not accepting anymore these different fields of human activity may stay separated. Even if the more you insist on this, the more the bigger the challenge is, and the more you think, oh dear me, this also and this also, I will never catch it. But finally, there's less and less choice till there's no choice anymore.
Right. The natural tendency, and what happens when you go against the natural tendency.
Yeah, exactly.
To things. To clarify that kind of thinking, because a lot of thinking is going on in the planning.
It has to, otherwise we would again separate a part of our